Guy, you're looking like tough in your black today. It's almost Cobra Kai. I mean,
Actually, it is.
that,
It
is
is
that black?
It's a deep blue or navy blue, but it's
Really?
blue. Sort of
It,
like the Yankee pinstripes are not black, but actually, that deep blue, Tim.
so
Which, by the way, we will be
so
seeing. Although
misleading.
we won't be seeing it this series because they play all their games at Cleveland. We hopefully will see it in
Yeah.
round 2.
And you know what? Just as because I am like this, and I think most New Yorkers are generally like this. I wish you well. I mean, I'd love to see you guys beat up on those Indians, and ultimately, it'd be great to have the Yanks playing the Dodgers in the Fall Classic. But
Yeah.
I'm guessing if the shoe was on the other foot, the Mets also wear pinstripes.
No, they don't.
Yes,
I mean, please,
yes,
now,
they do.
now,
Yes, they do.
you know,
They wear pinstripes, but look, we've done this so much, and it's now time to pat you guys on the fanny and say, come on, do your job in the next round. And as Cobra Kai might have, sweep the leg.
right.
Sweep the leg.
Well, I know the
Sensei.
tribe has Justin Bieber on the hill tomorrow night, and
Yeah,
he's probably your Cy Young winner in the AL this year. It's going to be unfortunate that Jake is not going to win his 3rd straight. But hey, look, I mean,
you think he's not even in the conversation?
Oh, no. He will get votes. I think he'll finish 2nd or 3rd this year. I can't tell you who's going to win. I haven't followed NL baseball. I know Clayton Kershaw had a solid year. So, I mean, there are a number of guys could get it. So we'll see.
Well, and speaking of guys
representative year.
But guys that might maybe now get it, is there any way you could ever like Justin Bieber? Is there, he's look, the guy's almost been a parody of himself to this point, if you ask me. But, the Biebs, he's got a new look. He's going back to the future with the old mop head. He's got a lot of ink. What would it take for you and Biebs for you to be a fanboy?
Well, it's funny you say that. You're assuming I'm not. I'm a huge Biebs guy. We follow each other on the Twitter. I happen to know for a fact he's a Fast Money fan. He's a Canadian guy, I believe, and he's a huge hockey dude, which makes him. I mean, that's aces in my book. So
got it.
I'm all about the Biebs. I think he's got. What was that? Did you dime me?
No, I know. I said got it. I'm just going with it. Look, when you're telling me that you and Biebs, you're down with the Biebs, for all those folks who sometimes hear us dime people on the air, that's a reference that goes, at least in my memory, goes back to my dinner table when someone would say something that, frankly, no one gave a shit about.
Wow,
that's
aggressive.
And I just did that. And you'd say, you got a dime so I could call someone who gives a shit. Sorry for 2 times.
So you condensed it down to just a dime.
A dime does so much with so little. And I realize that you can't do it. You couldn't call someone with a dime or a quarter or a silver dollar, even if you wanted to, because payphones don't exist. But you get what I've done. So I was not diming you about Biebs. In fact, I find that very interesting because I wouldn't think there was any way you would find the Biebs palatable. So, okay, so you're not going to sweep the leg. But when I look at the market today, and I look at actually banks that have outperformed the S&P by about 70 basis points today. And I think of all the vitriol that people have thrown at banks for much of the year, but certainly since the crisis and what's happened to rates and what that meant for their profitability. Here's something that's shocking. Banks are effectively flat to the S&P since middle of May. Did you know that?
No, I would have never. I mean, there's no way I could have guessed that. I mean, that to me is shocking. Given you look at the city, for example. I mean, even J.P. Morgan, which I think traded up to 115 in June. Now it's traded low 90s.
And I'm using J.P. Morgan. I'm using J.P. Morgan because Citi's underperformed. But take the best bank and plot them against the entire market. And underperformed on the way down. But since the market bounced a little bit, and granted, banks didn't get the bounce, other things did, but certainly have held serve. And I think it puts you in a pretty decent place to be a bank investor coming out of this, whenever that is.
Yeah, listen, I think you probably I got to believe, or at least I think, the last swath of really bad headline news came out in the form of that, banks laundering money scandal that it's sort of been out there. But I think when you see a headline like that, it's shocking. You have bank earnings coming up. I mean, if you're a bank bull, I think what you're hoping is the banks, basically all the reserves they took, which was ridiculous amounts of money, loan loss reserves, maybe they stop. Looks a little bit better going forward. And that would be extraordinarily bullish for banks, I think.
Well, and I'm not sure that's going to happen overnight. I'm simply pointing out that I think investors need to think about times when sentiment it becomes such an overriding dynamic. JP Morgan really is a best of breed franchise. It's a balance sheet that's even in a difficult credit environment is one that's not only thrown enormous loan provisions out there, but I think was conservative to begin with. And it effectively has had record profitability out of their investment banking division. That won't go on forever. But this rush to issue and a lot of the capital markets activity, the IPO market's been screaming. Goldman's and the syndicate on Ant Financial, which is going to list later this week. This is 33% owned by Alibaba. Is going to make $50 million or something. So I mean, there's a lot of money being made by these banks in areas that are arguably maybe part of the environment. But I just want to point that out, and I would also point out that transports have outperformed the S&P by almost 30% since that same time. So, and the last stat I'll throw at you is that Apple and transports are basically flat in that same time. So take one of the greatest rallies in Apple in the world's largest stock of all time in its history, and the transport sector has kept pace. It's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, UPS and FedEx have been monsters. I know you talked about FedEx for a long time, even before it's even become a headline name since earnings, basically. And that stock, I think, which bottomed out in around $89 in March, traded up to $263. I mean, you just think about that move. FedEx is not a small company, so well done there. And UPS has been a monster now for a while. So the transports, listen, clearly there's something going on there. I hear you on the banks. For me, it's about the broader market. And if you're playing at the home game, I think the S&P 500 closed today around 33.45 or thereabouts. 33.93 was the prior all-time high back in February. That should be resistance if we get there. We'll see what happens if and when we do. But it has been a heroic bounce off that what was a 10% correction in the S&P 500 from the recent high to that 32.05, I believe, low.
And it was a heroic outcome for Daniel-san in The Karate Kid. But the question I have for you is if Billy Zabka, aka the leader of the Cobra Kai, was chasing you down on his little motocross bike in the afternoon after school, I mean, would you have been scared of him in the first place? I mean, here you are dressed in black. You're looking like kind of a badass today. I'm wondering what a young guy, Adami, might have done if he was being chased by the leader of the Cobra Kai back in the day.
So, I mean, you're obviously teeing me up for the ending of the show, but I'll tell you exactly, because I know my sick mind, I would have sensed him approaching on his motorbike.
Yeah, yeah.
I would have quickly stopped, turned, put the forearm out, and clotheslined his ass, and that would have Cobra Kai'd him into the next movie that I never saw. By the way, I've never seen, what was the movie?
Karate Kid. One
in
through
its
like
entirety,
9.
And I didn't see Karate Kid 2 in it. I saw more of Frank, what was his name? The guy, Morita. I saw more of him in Happy Days than I did.
Pat Morita. He was Arnold. He was Arnold.
And I saw him in the Karate Kids movies. Those movies sucked. And we got to get out of here.
So with that, we put this episode in a body bag, and we see you tomorrow.